Sweet, beautiful friends. Hello. Welcome back. What an incredible time it has been. I have so much to share with you. We have taken a bit of an unexpected break, but we're back, and I really want to just fill you all in on this portal that has been transpiring and what I thought was just going to be like a little week or two off has turned into like a month and a half. But I have so much to share with you, and I really just want to catch you all up. Like, there is so much medicine and wisdom in each other's stories. And what has transpired in my life, we will get to all of that. But literally, I'm in LA. I'm in LA. And if you are listening to this right now, you are probably like, what are you doing in LA with all of these fires and everything going on? And the truth is that our higher self and source are always orchestrating our life precisely and perfectly, always orchestrating our life. And so being led here unknowingly, unknowingly what would transpire within a few days of arriving here. And this isn't just a trip. This isn't just a trip. I have moved out of Portland. I have not officially moved here to California, but we'll get into all of that. We'll get into all of that. But I want to first start with where this started, where things started, where things began to transpire, that I have literally been in this portal of just, I don't feel like the same person. I don't feel like the same person as who started December of 2024. I don't feel like the same person. And so I want to share with you what began. So on December 1st, I went to Costa Rica. This has been a lifelong dream for me and dream for my mom. And it was just my mom and I. We went together, and it was one of the most soul heart nourishing experiences. And here's the thing, if you're into astrocartography, it is so wild how these things work, because I have felt led and called and drawn and pulled to Costa Rica for a long time, years. Come to find out, Costa Rica is on my Jupiter line, which, if you're familiar with astrocartography at all, Jupiter lines are incredible. Like, we think of Jupiter, it is the largest planet. So it is all about expansion, growth, success, abundance. And I've been really wanting to, I don't know. I mean, I'd have to look at my chart more. I don't know that I have ever traveled somewhere directly on my Jupiter line before. It's just so wild how we feel pulled to go to these types of places, and then come to find out that we have resonance, we have astrological resonance, which, if you've never done astrocartography, I highly recommend looking into it. I do it with my clients. It's wildly informative and can help us make decisions as to where to travel, where to live, all of these things, right? So getting to go to Costa Rica. So it was supposed to be a family trip with both of my parents. And we kind of had planned it earlier in the year. I don't know if my grandma passed away earlier in the year, and, it was going to be kind of this like trip to come together and celebrate her life. And as life had it, things transpired. And my dad, he does a lot of travel. And so he last minute was like, he's usually the one who books these things and he's very into travel for his work. And so he knows all of the ins and outs of booking, really, and creating trips and tours and things like that. So my mom and I kept kind of waiting on him to hear about how and if this trip was going to transpire, right? Because he knows all of the deals and the ways in and out. So he ends up having to travel a lot. So I end up planning this trip. He was like, I just don't think that I should go. I'm too busy and I just want to be at home for the holidays. And so he's like, you guys should just go. You have a mother-daughter trip, which my mom and I haven't had a mother-daughter trip, and we've only ever had one before. when I was, I think, in high school. So anyways, we went to Costa Rica, and it was just, what a sacred, sacred land. First of all, what a sacred, beautiful land. And I will say that there is something very tangible that happens when we place our feet upon a land that is not our normal land, that is a sacred land. I really think that Costa Rica is just, it is just this beautiful, beautiful, lush land of just, there's so much charged energy there. The people there are so kind and wonderful and lovely. And anyways, so we went throughout Costa Rica, and we went to a few places in Costa Rica, and just like the time of our lives. Like, we had so much fun. It was very like a good challenge and opportunity for me to coordinate everything, to be speaking Spanish and coordinating with all of our tours and people. I went zip lining, we went horseback riding. My mom conquered her fears going on these hanging bridges. I did this amazing hike down to a famous waterfall. You guys, it was just like, it was an experience I'll never forget. Like, it is encoded in my being of just like expansion and growth and just divinity. So the last stop of our trip was in Manuel Antonio. And we were so happy to get there because it had been raining a lot prior in the places where we were inland, and Manuel Antonio was like very sunny and beautiful. And you guys, I was very excited for the sunshine. Like, I'm like coming from Portland, which, by the way, you guys, side note, if you have not done a 2025 reading with me, oh my gosh, I will put the link below. My 2025 or my year ahead readings are like one of the highlights of my New Year's. I planned, like, this was in the cards for me, this whole thing happening. So when on December 2023, I did my year ahead reading for 2024. And I remember pulling the sun card for December, and I instantly was like, I'm going to be somewhere else, because this energy, like, sun does not feel resonant for Portland. And also the sun card is much more than just physical, literal sun. But I felt in this case, like, it was physical, literal sun. But the sun is all about yes, saying yes to opportunities and growth and expansion. And I was just like, man, I just don't feel this for December. And if I'm looking at how my life is playing out right now, well, my life, December 1st, we go to Costa Rica. So anyways, this was in the cards. If you haven't done one of these, oh my gosh, they are so incredible, because I will map out what your entire year ahead is going to look like. The energy for each month, an archetype to embody, and then some overarching themes. These are so wildly transformative and informative. I check in on this every single month and throughout the month. So like at the beginning of each month, I check in and I'm like, oh, like this is what the energy is going to be for the upcoming month. This is what I know how to prepare and expect. And when I give you your reading, I'm bringing through channeled messages from your higher self and from your guides as well, in order to equip you for the following and upcoming year. So if you want that, the link will be below. And this was just like, it was so fun for me to see how this plays out. And here's the kicker. You ready for this one? This is why I bring it up, because the universe has jokes, my friends. The universe has jokes, because not only did we get the sun card for December, but I got sun poisoning, which who would have thought that yours truly, sun being, like a sun being. I am a sun being. I love the sunshine. And so when I see sunshine, of course, I'm going to go lay out in it. Well, you guys, it was a UV index of 11, which my skin has never seen in my lifetime. If you're not familiar with the UV index, like especially during the winter time, the highest it gets in Portland is like 1, maybe 2. In California, 3 during the winter. And then like in the summertime, if you're in the northern hemisphere, probably like highest you'll see is like 8. Highest. Most likely going to hover around like 5, 6 in the summer. We were at an 11, my friends. This is what happens when you're closer to the equator. So 11 UV index. I laid out for 20, 25 minutes and I got sun poisoning. I remember asking my mom, I said, what is this liquid oozing from my forehead? That was sun poisoning. I literally got, I don't even know what degree, probably just first degree burn. And it was so intense and it was intense. And so the last day of the trip, I was unwell. Like I was sick and I wasn't quite sure. I think I got like a 24-hour flu type thing. And then I laid out in the sun and then so it was like, I got this 24-hour like flu. It was just like really intense body aches, honestly. And I just felt like zero energy. And this is wild because I haven't been sick in like, the last time I had been sick was in 2017 or 2017 or 2018. So to get that sick on vacation was like such a bummer. But I like looking back now, I'm like, oh, I see why this all transpired. So the last day, I'm just like, I felt so bad. I was like, Mom, like you go do a tour, like go have fun. I just need to lay and be with this sacred land. And honestly, that's what it was. I just laid and I rested and I talked and it was so wild because it was like I didn't feel called to listen to any music, any podcast, like nothing. I just was like with my higher self, with my guides, with the land. And I just laid and I was like, oh, the sun would help me. No, it made things worse. It made things worse. So usually the sun will help you, but not when it's that intense of a UV index. So between this, like this flu probably would have went away had I not gotten then sun poisoning. So I had to like pull myself together then because the next day we had we were coming back. Like we were going back home to the US and we had a 4.5 hour drive to the airport. Then we were at the airport for 3 hours and then had a 4.5 hour flight home, then driving home from the airport. Then the next day I had my flight back to Portland at 5 a. I had to get up at like 4 or 5 a.m. for that. And I came home and I just was like spent. I just needed like a week. And then I got sick. I got sick like again. And my friends, what I want to tell you about sickness, you cannot, this is my belief. That's my belief. Okay. We don't catch things. We don't catch sickness. We have to be an energetic match to it. Secondly, it is when our soul wants to give us a DNA upgrade. That sickness was a DNA upgrade for me. I have never, like, I feel like I literally physically and energetically burned away old energies, old identities, old thoughts, old constricting, limiting beliefs, literally burned them away with the fever, with my skin, like literally burning and peeling. Like I was shedding physically, literally all over my body, shedding skin and physically burning because I had a fever for multiple days. And I just surrendered to it. And literally, you guys, I cannot even tell you. I had multiple people say to me afterwards, your energy has totally changed. You feel totally different. Like, what did you do? Like, did you do something besides just getting sick because you feel like a new person? Like, it expanded me in a way that I cannot even know words. So this is what sickness is. So know this the next time that you get sick or unwell or feeling down. Like, if you're feeling like you're starting to get sick, pay attention. Your body wants you to rest and take it slower. And if you get sick, surrender to it because you are literally getting DNA upgrades, especially when you're really, really sick. And I have not been that sick in a long time. And what I realized is it was preparing me for what's to come. And so then what was to come? This was a little bit stressful because I got back. And when I got back, I had 2 weeks before I had to be moved out of my place. I had already put in my 30-day notice that I was going to be moving out of my place. Now, what's really wild about this is I had been in Portland for, if you're familiar with cycles, almost an entire 9-year cycle. I came there for grad school to become a nutritionist. So much transpired since then, as many of you may know, then became a hypnotherapist, energy work, and started my practice and doing all of these other things. So many things that I do now, and just learning so much about myself, and meeting so many incredible, amazing people in this community and this town, and discovering just nature beyond otherworldly, like beautiful nature. Like Portland became my home until it no longer was. And I felt this pull for quite a while that it was like, but it was like I had friends there, I had the nature, like that was a thing, is I didn't feel like I was like, I didn't know where to go, but I knew I was supposed to go. So I put in my 30 days. When a few months back, I was just like, I made it like very clear to the universe. I said, God, like, I'm sick of thinking about if I'm supposed to move or if I'm supposed to stay. Like, please make it abundantly clear if I'm supposed to leave, because I'm sick of thinking about this. And within 24 hours of that happening, I had a good friend reach out to me asking if she would like me to come and house sit in California. So that's where I am. I accepted. And so I was like, okay, well, that would be a good way for me to just find a place down there. If I want to go down there, like we'll see, right? So I put all my things in storage in Portland. I moved out. And when I tell you guys, like, moving is a spiritual experience. It's a spiritual experience. Life is a spiritual experience. Everything is a spiritual experience. But moving, it's a certain flavor of spiritual experience that I cannot put into words. Especially like I did this all on my own, right? I did this all on my own. I had people offer to help, and I actually just I felt like it needed to be my own experience, like moving through my own stuff, which a lot physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually came up for me to look at. And just releasing so many things, like taking three trips to Goodwill with just so much stuff, donating things and letting go of things, and putting my things away in storage, and keeping just the essentials, and then saying goodbye to this place that has held me during my spiritual awakening. I had not, like, Portland was where I had my spiritual awakening. That apartment held me in my spiritual awakening. And like, that's huge. It was huge. So I had like, went to Costa Rica, got activated, I had my sickness that like sealed in, released old identities to prepare me for moving. Then I had a week to literally put everything in boxes, let go of things, just tie up all the loose ends, which I have. My gosh, I just forgot. I just didn't know. So many things have to take place in order to move. So many things. So I put my things in storage, and then I finished literally that morning, finished cleaning my place, and then drive 10 hours down to Sacramento, and then drive another, I think it was like 6 or 7 hours down to California, or to LA. So I arrived in LA, and it took me like 2 days of like, I could not get my nervous system out of fight or flight. Like I was still, it was maybe 3 days. I think it was 3 days, 2 or 3, doesn't matter. I woke up at, like, I'd wake up at 6 o'clock, and I was like, okay, what do I need to do? Where do I need to go? What do I need to get done? Because it was like the time crunch was just so intense, right? And here's the other thing that happened, because I was set, like, maybe this is TMI for some people, but I don't think it is. I was set to get my cycle during my move, and I literally asked my body. I said, "Body and higher self, please give me my cycle in the time that would be most harmonious to support this move." Because like if you're a girl, like you don't want to be like, need to pack up your whole place day one of your cycle. Like that just would not feel good. So I asked my body that, and ask and you shall receive. So literally 2 or 3 days after I got here, got to LA, I got my cycle. So I was like on day like 39 or yeah, 39. And that was like finally my signal to my body that like I could relax and release and literally like fully like let my nervous system just, and I just needed like 3 days to just fully be in that that portal of just surrender and release and like what just all like integrate everything that just happened. And I have a lot of friends down here now, and I just had to like fully be in like me time. It was just sleep, eat, and be with the ocean. Be with the ocean. And literally a day or two after that was when, yeah, it was a day or two after that. I was like, I want to go and do a hike in the Palisades. I want to go do a hike in the Palisades. So I'm in my car driving to the Palisades on Tuesday. And I'm like, what is this smoke coming from? Where is, there must be a fire. But, you know, I'm just thinking like, I heard talk and speak about these fires. Like, I'm sure it's not that big of a deal. So I kept driving. And then all of a sudden I literally had the thought, Jasmine, what are you doing? Turn around. What are you doing? Like, adventure part of me was like, I'll be fine. You're good. Just go enjoy. Just go play. And then literally it was like, Jasmine, what are you doing? Turn around. And as I had that thought, up ahead of me, they close the road down. They close it. They shut it off. And I get to a point in the road along this along Malibu where I look up and I see the fire in the mountain. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go home. I had no idea what was going to be transpiring over the next few days. And over the next few days, it has just been otherworldly to witness so much take place so quickly and see people I know, their entire homes just gone. And it's really like, and where I was on watch, evacuation watch. And so like kind of like sleeping with one eye open, like keeping phones charged, like getting everything kind of like set and prepared if like I have to leave. Like it's a very interesting feeling, especially after like just coming here. And so I really like, I started having these like, my limiting belief that came up that I just like want to raw and vulnerably share with you guys is that I started thinking like, will people trust me? Would people trust me? Because my intuition told me to come here, and then this happened. And so I started having all of these like which I realized this is false light. This is false light trying to convince me that I couldn't trust myself. And when I tuned in, I just like, okay, I hear you voice, I hear this voice, but let me tune in. Let me tune in deeper. And my higher self very clearly shared with me, like, you needed to be here for this. This is part of it. And here's the thing, we don't always understand these things. They don't always make sense to us. It doesn't always make sense to our mind why we're led in guided places. But if there's one thing that I have learned so abundantly clear is that we are always brought to the right places at the right time when we're supposed to be there. Always. Like when I was brought to a specific Apple store to buy my new computer so that I could meet this man who needed to, I needed to have that conversation with him. I needed to see him. Today on my walk, and this guy, I just so happened to go up to his license plate because my friend and I were just talking about her seeing 888. And right as I'm thinking about her, I see 888. And so I go up to this license plate to take a photo of his license plate. And the man gets out of his car as I'm taking a photo of his license plate. What are the chances? What are the chances? He gets out and he says, "Are you taking a photo of my car?" And I said, "Yes, I am. I did." I said, "You have a very lucky license plate. You have 888. We started connecting and he says, "I always felt like I was a lucky one." And he was a Spanish man. And he started telling me, he said, "My parents, they had my sister. And then they said, we want a boy." And I was like, "And then you came." And he said, "Yes, I came. And, and I have always felt like I had this luck." And we start talking. And so this is what I'm saying, my friends. We don't always understand why we're at places at certain times, but it's always meant to be. The smile that that man left with after our small exchange, I'll never forget. I'll never forget that. Here I'm like so embarrassed taking a photo of his license plate. And then it ended up turning into like, wow, that was a divine interaction. And that's what I learned. Being here is a divine interaction. It is a divinely orchestrated experience that my soul wanted to experience. My soul wanted to experience being here, learning how to be in the midst of chaos, learning how to regulate my nervous system, learning how to hold light when darkness is very apparent. And I've gone back and forth just on the whole dark versus light with all of this. It's very apparent to me that these fires were not they were not a natural disaster. They weren't. But I think getting into the weeds of who did it and who's to blame and all of that, it's not helpful and supportive when people have lost everything. And so I really had to check myself as far as like, I can still hold that belief, that trust, that feeling, that deeper intuitive knowing that darkness was behind this, darkness created this, man created this, while still also being like, and focusing on that doesn't solve the problem. Focusing on God and bringing God into the equation is what solves the problem. God, source, divine, universal love, whatever resonates with you. And another thing that transpired when I was really like tuning in and asking about this is that it was like, rather than asking for the fire to just be put out, ask that God, God's love, God's truth, God's heart be felt in everyone experiencing this. And so that was what I prayed. That was the energy in which I sent out. Of course, I would love for the fires to be extinguished in the highest, best possible way. But also we have to remember that fire brings with it alchemy. It brings with it change. The fire has a consciousness. Water has a consciousness. Earth holds a consciousness. Wind has a consciousness. And so we can work with the consciousness of the fire, of the water, of the earth, and of the wind. And we can begin to ask them what their intention is. What intention were they given? How can we bring in God's intention, God's light? And sometimes God does bring forth destruction in order to create a more beautiful life, a more beautiful future. And I will never say that destruction and bad things should happen. I will never say that, oh, it's totally fine that these people lost everything. Like it's just, it'll be fine. It's for a higher reason. I think that that is so insensitive to say to people who are going through these incredibly traumatic times, incredibly traumatic. So I will never say that because it's not helpful. It's not supportive. Everything is happening for a higher reason, of course. But when someone is in it, they don't want to hear that. They don't like it's, don't say that to people who are in it. Okay. But when we can begin to ask, because here's the thing, what we put our attention to expands. And so when everyone is focused on the fire expands. And so as I ask that people feel God's love in their heart, and may this expand, then we bring forth miracles. We bring forth magic. We bring forth love. We bring forth universal miracles. And am I saying that I'm like the right one, the only one who has the solution? No. But this is what I received. And that rather than just asking for rain, we don't know that rain is the right solution. Who knows? But we don't, there could be multiple solutions. And so rather than just asking for rain, why don't we just ask for the perfect solution? Why don't we ask that God be felt in the hearts of all people? And when God is felt in the hearts of people, people are led towards God's light, God's truth, God's source divine's love to help with whatever is transpiring. So we don't need to just ask for rain. We need to ask for God. Ask for God's love and truth and knowing and presence to be felt in each and every person who is experiencing this. And when we ask that, people's consciousness shifts. It shifts towards solutions. It shifts towards the way of God, the way of truth, the way of knowing, to divine solutions and to miracles, so that miracles can be blessed and sprinkled and poured upon the land. And pouring miracles of divine over the land is 10 times more powerful than just rain. And so this is what I have been contemplating, what I have been looking at, sitting with, experiencing, moving through over the past month and a half. And it has been a portal, to say the least, a portal of so much growth, so much expansion, so much change. I've come to know myself in ways that I hadn't known myself before. My soul, the resilience of these vessels that we live in. Oh my goodness. These vessels are so resilient, and we just don't even recognize or realize the depth to how resilient we truly are. So, all this to say, we're moving through a lot as a collective right now. And I believe that there's going to be more transpiring, perceived good and perceived bad, in this upcoming year. So the most important thing that we can do is cultivate our relationship with ourself and higher source, with our intuition, with our knowing, with our truth, with our trust and guidance. And when we do this, we know where to move, we know what steps to take, we know how to be, even in the midst of chaos, we know what to do. We know that no matter what life gives us, we choose to respond to it. And so it is how we respond to life that shows who we are. And so if you need help or support with any of these, check out my resources below, whether it is just my meditation for clearing your field, whether it is my meditation to connect with your higher self, whether it is a Gene Keys reading or a human design reading to know the blueprint of your soul, or whether it is working with me one-on-one to really take the fast track to coming to open up your gifts, or to just see the energy of your upcoming year in a 2025 reading. All of the links will be below. Let me know you're listening on Instagram. I am jasmineelise, or in the comments below. Thank you for being here, friends. I'm just sending you all infinite love and light.